So how do you keep the Angry Man persona with such an unmenacing giggle? And where did the giggle come from?
I have no,
Because I laugh like my father, my wife laughs like her father. Did you inherit the giggle from somebody?
probably my dad. I think so. And my brother. My brother laughed harder than I did. But my father, I think I got it from him.
Now, was there ever a point where, and obviously you've found great success, and we're talking about Hannah and her sisters and some of the other things that came up. Was there a point in your career where you thought, oh, wow, I really need to start looking at a plan B?
No,
This is always you. This was the path, always
there
and
was
ever.
no plan B. You're talking to somebody who's nuts. There was no plan B. I just once I went, I was broke, but I could get by. When we were running the room, we were finally making what you'd make maybe as an off-Broadway actor, and I could get dinner there. And the only thing I really lacked for was if I'd gotten sick, I had no health insurance. So if I was sick, I would go to a clinic, and but it never even pays me. I mean, this is great. I'm happier than. But what are you going to give me that's going to make me happier? And because I was working a lot. I mean, I was working all the time, and down there, and we were running shows 6 nights a week, 7 nights a week, sometime, and and then and then it was once I got into stand up, it was like this is great, and I started to get paid. so 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 when I got when I made that transition, I mean I was used to being broke, um, and I was lucky because I transitioned quickly from I had some gigs as a middle act, the guy in the middle, and that didn't pay as much, but I went pretty much quickly into being a headliner, and in enough places, not A rooms but B rooms, and and that really helped. And so I was not gonna. There wouldn't, and no, there was never a plan B. Once I got out of, I always felt I'll get by. This is too important. I can't do anything else. The only thing that I might have done, and which is the plan B was with theater, was is that I'd get a job teaching, and that was impossible to get a job teaching.
Now, you landed a role alongside some of the biggest names in business in Woody Allen's Hannah and her sisters. How did that opportunity come about?
Julia Taylor, who's probably one of the and I don't say this because she cast me. You just go through her films. He's even said it himself. Was one of the great casting directors, and she would come to see the shows at the West Bank where we were doing stuff. And she really liked me, and she liked my friend Rusty, and so she said, you two are going to be in a Woody Allen film someday." And I went, "Oh yeah, right. Okay, great." I mean, it was terrific. That could get you through. I mean, that the great thing about to me was is that you could make shit up, and would go, "Oh, okay." Whether you could be lying to me. It was a
Yeah.
great lie. I used to tell my agent, just tell me somebody called. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be real. Just pretend. And so within a year, 2 years, we were in, she cast us in Hannah. Rusty plays a drugged out guy. It's that first shot where we're going down the hallway. And we come out of the elevator. It's me and Christian Clemens. He'd not been in a movie. John Turturro's in that scene. J.T. Walsh is in that scene. Julie Kavner, Julie Louise Dreyfus. It was kind of unbelievable.
How did you eventually get your first appearance on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart?
I was on before John, so John really, if it weren't for me, John wouldn't have had a show. So I'm the one who kept the whole thing propped up. It was all on my shoulders. No, I was there when Craig Kilborn started from the very beginning. I was there from like the first or second week on, and it was Liz Winstead and my friend Hank Gallo, who was the producer, and Liz Winstead was the creator. Liz knew my work. I'd been in clubs. They needed people who could pump out material. I had pounds of material. So they asked me to come in each week or I can't remember if it was each week or every other week. And, what we need you to do is do a kind of my editorial. which is what I did initially. No audience. And I would sit there and I wouldn't write it out. And I would do it, and then I would do it again. Because I work in front of an audience, but even there I knew my bit, so I would kind of, and then I would kind of convert it to what we were doing there, and I could talk about what I wanted to talk about. So I'd go there and blow out okay, this and this and this, and we'd do it one time, and then they go, keep this, drop that, do that, do it, keep this, do that, drop that, did it again. All right, keep this, this, and this, and then finally about the fourth one, done. And then they brought in an audience. I started writing it, and then once I started in that, then we'd work on it, and they would help me do the edit, and then I made then I said to them, what I really wanted to do, which nobody listened to, has been the story of my career. What I wanted to do was to do a summary of the news at the end of the week. Like, give me 4 minutes and let's go through the news. And let's take the jokes that have been thrown away, because they would throw away pounds of really good stuff. Pounds. And give me those, and I'll do that. And they said, no, what we got is what they had at that time was a ton of footage early on with Kilborn, and the footage at that point was free. And so what they got was all of these weird kind of things, like squirrels on skis and all this kind of bizarro stuff, and they put it together and throw that stuff at me, and gave me 2 writers and Hank as the producer, and we'd lock up for an afternoon and come up with a thing, and that became Back in Black.
So you've outlasted then Kilborn, Stewart. Now you're with Trevor Noah. Yeah. I think he's done an incredible job, especially having to follow Jon Stewart. Yes. Some people were kind of questioning choosing him to take over the show at the start, but he had worked with you guys before that happened. What did you think of the decision at that point in time? Did you feel, yeah, this is gonna work? Well, I know the guy.
I didn't know Trevor well enough to believe it was going to work. I didn't know. But I thought this. I always think this. Okay. I was on the show. You're going to bring in a new person to be the face of that show. Okay. I had done very well in my position. Okay. But I'm in the barking dog position. So just bring me in to audition. You don't have to give me the job. Just let me audition, you jackasses. I've been on this show. And then say no. That's all. That's all I'm asking. And so I did it once. When John, they didn't ask me to do it. Then when John left, he didn't ask me to do it. But I thought maybe, I kind of went, I thought maybe Samantha Bee at that point would be an interesting choice. I thought her or John Oliver.
Yeah, because John had already filled in for him when he was making that movie,
John had
right?
filled in, and John Oliver was great. And Samantha is with her own show, you can see she's terrific. And it would have been, both of those would have given that, we already knew with John what we were going to get. And with John, it was less of a leap, in a sense, but with a different sensibility, for sure. I think that John is another just brilliant mind. Samantha would have been great. And I didn't know enough about Trevor. And then it's worked out great.
Yeah. In that same vein, you've been on or around a lot of the other late night talk shows: Letterman, Leno, Colbert, Fallon, Ferguson. Who I don't want to say who impressed you the most. I guess I should ask instead, which host did you click with the best? I guess
Craig Kilborn. Craig Kilborn. No, Craig
Ferguson.
Yeah, no, Craig Kilborn and I never clicked. But Craig Ferguson and I got along just spectacularly. And part of it was because he just talked to me. Because I never understood the question, and that you prepare for an interview. What do we, did you call me up and say, what are we going to do? What planet are we on? Okay, you have a conversation. One can rely on this. You bring somebody on. I kind of, after a while, I get it if I'm on like Conan for the first time, the second time. By the third time, come on.
Well,
me.
Because there's this premise of setups, right? When there's a comedian on, there's the whole premise of setups, which I was kind of debating, when I knew you were coming on the show. I'm like, okay, so normally this would be my style of interview, but sometimes with a comedian, sometimes their people say they want some setups.
I don't
I'd
want.
rather just ask
Yeah.
you these questions.
No, and when people say, "Do you want me to? What setups do you want to go?" Just talk to me. I'll find a joke somewhere, and and in part, some of the time, you just want to have a conversation. I was on with Ferguson. This is what used to make, and to me, it's what made Jack Parr, for whatever you think of Jack Parr, is that. When I was a kid, I'm watching him. I'm like, it was just that they would talk, and you had people like for 100 shows. I mean, some of these people, you have 100 shows. They would come back and be the other guest. They weren't the sidekick, but they'd be the kind of the sidekick, and they just have conversations, and so with Craig, that's what we had, and one night we're on there, we're rolling along, and Craig goes, we discover we were living in the East Village at the same time. What bar, and he was drinking heavily at that time, and I was drinking, and we eventually found out that we spent a lot of time at the same bar and never
bumped into each other.
Never bumped into each other, but didn't know each other at the time either. But never cried. We never talked. We were both sitting on our plate wherever we were, and that's a great moment. That's a real moment on TV, and what makes for something special. Okay, it's why people use this. Is for that instant. Please, let's get a grip. Television can still do it, but I mean, it's. And when they want me to do one of those shows, it's kind of like then you've got to sit there and deconstruct your act to put it back together, to do it as a way, as a twofer. You're doing it as a two-hander.